it feels very appropriate to be wearing my bee top when I've got my bee bedding on. This is more than just an accent of bees, I've got a full-on hive happening. Hello everybody, welcome back. If you have not been here before, my name is Debbie and I read a lot of books. Today's book was actually a recommendation from one of my lovely followers. So it was Nicholas Sloan 5907 who recommended these books to me, and it was on, which video was it? It was on my me talking about The Great and Secret Show. So that was a video from 2020, June 2020, when we were in lockdown. But yes, so thank you Nicholas for recommending these books to me, because I have now finished one of them and I'm halfway through the other. So this is Swan Song by Robert McCammon. He's also known as Robert R McCammon as well, so yeah, that's the front cover of the book. I'm just going to get straight in with that blurb and then tell you what I thought of this. Yeah. Something flashes in 9-year-old Swan's brain, telling her that trouble is coming. Maybe it's her mother, fed up with her current boyfriend and ready to abandon their dismal trailer park and seek a new home. But something far worse is on the horizon. Death falls from the sky, nuclear bombs which annihilate American civilization. Though Swan survives the blast, this young psychic's war is just beginning. As the survivors try to make new lives in the wasteland, an evil army forms, intent on murdering all those tainted with the diseases brought by the fallout. When Swan finds a mysterious amulet that could hold the key to humankind's salvation, she draws the attention of a man more dangerous than any nuclear bomb. To rescue mankind, this little girl will have to grow up fast. So this was 856 pages, this was a long one, in crime, thriller, supernatural, horror and paranormal. This has absolutely everything. And I felt, even with it being a long one, I felt like I read this so quickly. The writing style I got along with really, really well. It's kind of separated into like different books. I was trying to figure out whether to put this as a Wednesday video or a Sunday video. But yeah, you are following different groups of survivors. Because basically, even though this was published in like the 80s, oh for God's sake, Safari keeps trying to like open my app store and it is driving me insane. 1987. Oh, so this is like as old as my sister. My sister was born in 87. But yeah, it's described as a work of post-apocalyptic fiction describing the aftermath of a nuclear war that provokes an evolution in humankind. It even won the 1987 Bram Stoker Award, tying with Misery by Stephen King. This, as I said, I just thought this was so good. It had so much going on. And yeah, but you're following quite a few different people. So you've got Swan, the young girl, who's she's nicknamed Swan. Her name is Sue Wonder, and Sue Wonder Prescott. She, when everything happens, ends up being united with a guy called Josh, who is kind of the protector of Swan and a father figure to her throughout the book. You've got Sister Creep, who is kind of a bag lady in New York City at the beginning of the book when everything goes to shit. And she is known as the Guardian of the Glass Ring. It feels, with the glass ring, which I will go into, it does have elements of, like, Lord of the Rings. I just say that. You've got Colonel Macklin and Roland. Roland is taken to a bunker at the beginning of the book when everything goes to shit, and it's the only way to describe it really. And he's taken under the wing of Colonel Macklin, who is a survivalist and a former US Air Force prisoner of war. And then you've also got the man with the scarlet eye, who's also known as Doyle and Friend and the Man of Many Faces. There's so many things about this. And actually on Wikipedia it says that January of 24 it was announced that this book was going to be adapted as a television series. So I don't know how far into that they are, with it being April 25, but I would have thought that this would go through a lot of pre-production, something like this book, because it is epic. It really is epic. So yeah, you've got Swan and Josh, you've got Sister Creep and the group that she meets up with, Colonel Macklin and Roland, and then you've also got Friend, who he's mainly known as throughout the book, and you flip between these groups of survivors basically. At the very beginning of the book, the president makes a decision that starts the apocalypse. as I said, very apt timing for reading this book. But I felt like it didn't feel that dated. I think it's because the apocalypse starts pretty much straight away. There isn't anything in there to date it because everything is wiped out so quickly. So, it felt like it could be now. And I think that's what would make a perfect adaptation. I was hoping throughout the book that we would get Sister Creep's actual name, which we don't. But you do get a little bit of information about part of her history and the things that she sees in this glass ring that she finds in the rubble in New York. And when she picks it up, she gets these visions. That's why I say leans into that like supernatural type things as well. But Friend, the man with many faces and stuff, he is essentially afraid of Sister Creep, or Sister as she's referred to as through most of the book. And in his chapters, he constantly says, "This is my party," and I just wanted to deck him. Even if he is some supernatural thing that can kind of become different people. Him going around saying, "This is my party," and like, you hope is bad and all this sort of stuff. And that's what hope is, the only thing that is keeping everybody else going, because the world is dying. Well, actually, we don't really get much reference to the rest of the world. It's mainly America. So you do wonder when you read these kind of books, it's just like, you find out what's happening in America, but what's happening in the rest of the world? Has this affected the rest of the world? But you know that Russia's involved. There are references to other countries, but you just don't know the extent of it because you're mainly focusing on the American fallout. And as you go through the book, you find out that due to radiation, there are people who are getting like these welts and crusty things on their faces. It would be so interesting to see how this book is adapted and what they do in regards to like the special effects makeup, in regards to the transformations that people go through in this book. Oh. I don't want to keep going on and on and on about this book, but there's just so much that happens, and it pulled me in straight away. I did not want to put this book down at all. It was so good. I mean, for something set in 87, there is stuff in there that I was just like, yeah, some things would have to be changed. It's a bit dated, and more so, there are times when it did feel like, language-wise, it almost felt a little bit older, but I don't know if it's just that Robert McCammon is... Oh, he's from Alabama. That might explain some of the language. I felt, as I was reading it, my brain was trying to tap in to, like, a Southern American accent. That made it flow a lot easier as well when I had that accent in my brain. So, yeah. That definitely makes sense. Yeah, that completely makes sense in my brain that he's from Alabama, based on some of the language in it. And it also explains a little bit about the other book that I'm reading, Boy's Life, which I'm trying to figure out what I'm about halfway through, and I'm just like, I don't even know what this is about anymore. I thought it was a murder mystery at one point, and it is, but then there's also looking at the kid growing up and stuff, and it'd be interesting one to talk about Boy's Life. But yeah, just seeing them just responding. And Roland's story is... Because, I mean, he's young. I mean, on the Wikipedia it says Roland transforms from an innocent child into a cold-blooded killer who lives to serve Macklin and later Friend. He's manipulated as a child by the adults. Because it's at the beginning of the book when everything is falling apart and the bunker's falling apart, and they knew that the bunker was falling apart before the end of the world bit started because they were already getting water coming through like the ceiling, so they knew this wasn't a structurally I can't even say that word, structurally sound bunker. Roland cuts off Macklin's hand. Is it Macklin's hand? When Macklin gets stuck. But yeah, so Roland's inner workings throughout the book is really interesting to see, because he's always referring to like, this is a game, and I'm serving the king. It's just like, and he continues that thought process as he grows up across the book. I couldn't even tell you how long this... I don't even know how long. It's like years, maybe 10 years in total. It says 7 years in like the information bit, but I'm sure it goes on for slightly longer than that, because you see Swan grow up, you see Roland grow up, and the adults are just falling apart. It seems like a very good the fact that I've just started watching Yellow Jackets as well. Obviously not quite the same, because that's the idea of kids on a plane and the plane goes down and they're in the, Canadian wilderness on Yellow Jackets. But that's that survivalist thing. I think that's what I'm tapping into there. Yeah. I don't even know what I've said about this book at this point. I mean, the blurb focuses on Swan, because ultimately Swan is essentially the saviour in a way. Sister keeps seeing Swan in this crystal. It's a glass ring with precious stones melted into it, and soon discovers that the ring has supernatural properties. But yes, it's just got everything. And yeah, you've just got this demonic friend, refers to himself throughout the book, who's kind of like a shapeshifter. Like, he transforms himself into different things, but it's always the eyes that give it away. That's how Swan figures it out, that's how Sister figures it out, and yeah, but there is kind of a full circle moment at the end, and it's just like, oh, it is one that you really need to read to completely get that experience, because you feel like you're living it with them in a way, because you're just watching them over these years trying to find food, they're going off into different groups and starting wars, because, even when the world is coming to its end, people still just want to fight. Yeah, there's still bad people in the world, and Friend is the worst of them, but he manipulates other people into doing his bidding, and that's how Roland gets involved with Friend, and I feel like I'm speaking gibberish. But it was so good. It was proper edge of my seat. I did not want to put this down, so it's a proper page turner. Yeah. Swan Song, Robert McCammon. There is your front cover. I read it on BorrowBox. I recently found out that some libraries do actually use BorrowBox and Libby. My library doesn't. I just have BorrowBox. And it was Nicholas Sloan 5907. That's the username of the person who recommended Robert McCammon to me on a video about a Clive Barker book. We had like a proper conversation, because you can see it, like he's talking up there, and then he did actually tell me to read Boy's Life first. He said it's an awesome coming of age story, but I actually went in with Swan Song, just because it was a bigger book. I felt like I wanted to get the bigger book out of the way. But he did say you need to read Swan Song. It's huge, kind of like The Stand by Stephen King, but better in my opinion. That's what Nicholas Sloan said. Yeah, so thank you, Nicholas Sloan 5907, for recommending these books to me, and for recommending the author to me, because I'll admit, I didn't really know what I was getting into. Like, obviously, he'd given me the Clive Barker stuff, and Clive Barker books are generally just harder to read. That's my experience with Clive Barker. They're good books, but they can be difficult to read. But then I was getting the comparison with Stephen King as well, and I've actually gotten on quite well with Stephen King's style of writing. So, but yeah, Robert McCammon, it was just so easy, and because it's separated into the different books, and like maybe 4 or 5 chapters in each book, it just made the reading process feel so much quicker. Yeah, I think I read this over about a week and a half, because I was working as well, so I didn't have all the time in the world to read this book. But yeah, I loved it, and it would be so interesting to see the transformations on screen. I'm very excited at the idea of this becoming a series, because it would be brilliant. Who would I have play who? I don't know. But the idea of Melanie Lynskey playing Sister Creep is in my head at the moment. Probably because I'm watching Yellow Jackets at the moment, and I think she's a great chameleon. But there's just something about Melanie Lynskey in something like this that makes complete sense in my brain. Yeah. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. Thank you so much to the new subscribers. It is so lovely that more people are joining my little corner of the internet. Just thank you. And don't forget to like, and if you've got any recommendations, obviously I will read anything, I really will. But yeah, so thank you so much. I will see you next time with another video. I am now going to go watch the last 3 episodes of season 1 Yellow Jackets. My hairdresser recommended it to me, and I'm hooked already. Anyway, I love you. Goodbye.